Hi everyone, we are in Alacahöyük in Çorum. Here is Mali. Mali will be talking about the things right around Alacahöyük.
In Alacahöyük, we have some old settlements and we have some new settlements, relatively new after Hittites. And also in the times of Hittites, it's also occupied. So it's a very rich in terms of different periods.
We are here right now and we will go further. There is a museum part. In the museum, there are smaller things like seals and all the other kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, and we will see.
Yeah, we will see them
So
as well.
let's start with these wagons, old wagons. These old wagons was used in first excavations, so they put them over there to emphasize the importance that archaeologists give this place.
The excavations started in Hattusha in Çorum basically because this place is being excavated for 100 years and more than 100 years. So here is, you can see the things that used in the first excavations are old enough to put to the museum.
We are at the gate of Alacahöyük. We have some reliefs, old reliefs that describes a festival. This is important because this is the constitutes our understanding of Hittite festivals. So in this scene we see that a car. It's very hard to see, perhaps. A car bringing food, and musicians play their instruments. Look at that! It's like a guitar, right?
By the way, this one is considered as unfinished, I guess.
Yes.
Because it's, very it looks unfinished basically. And also these are reconstructions because the originals are in Anatolia Civilization Museum in Ankara, right?
Yes. So in this scene there are musicians. Look at this scene. This is very interesting. We see two little people, dwarfs. At that time was used for amusement. So very similar to 20th century, 19th century, the dwarfs take role in circus. They took part in circuses. So very similar. And look at this guy. This is the first guy that we know who swallows a knife. Very old trick. Isn't it interesting?
Well, if I were to look at it in the first time, I would think it is an instrument, like.
No.
But it is not. You say
not.
it's a knife.
No. This is definite. This is a sword, and the guy is swallowing it. Very interesting.
So we are seeing different scenes from festivals, like in Hittite vases, like very famous one Inandık is also showing us a festival. So Hittites are people who likes to party, who likes festivals, and
festivals have great importance in Hittite culture. They were even in the blackest day, in the darkest day, even when there is a famine, even when there is a war, they always realize their festivals. So religious, so important. But you can see that they are having fun.
yeah. And also what we see here is a king. He looks like Tutalia IV because all of them looks like. Tutalia IV is one of the egoist kings as far as I learn. And this is an altar and this is an Hittite ox, let's say. Do you agree with my argument? Because he looks like Tutalia IV.
Yeah, I don't know about the fort, but he's definitely a king. When you look at the whole scene, the king leading the crowd and offering to gods.
Basically, this scene was showing people where they can stay in the society, because it's ending with the king, but you must be at the very back of the crowd because you're ordinary citizens of Hittite country, and king, then tavananna, then the religious people, aristocrats, and so on and so forth. Then you may find yourself a place in the very backside of this crowd. So in the entrance of Alacahöyük we have Sphinx Gate. Sphinx Gate is, there are gates in Hattusha as well. There is this gate tradition in Hittite. Sphinx Gate is actually these are not original, right? Are they original
I'm
or
not really sure. They could be original.
they look original because you know.
They could be original.
Well, if they were to reconstruct this, they wouldn't use this material. They would do it in a simple way, you know. So this must be original, I guess. They look original, and there are lots of details on it. So Sphinx Gate is kind of different than some other gates that we can see in Hattusha, for example. There is this double-headed eagle relief, which is an imperial sign. This means that our country is an empire and we rule maybe whole Anatolia and maybe the whole world, they would meant to say, because the known world is, you know, Mesopotamia, Anatolia and Egypt, and that is basically it in those times. So
Double-headed eagle. It's very interesting that Romans used this symbol. So it's a very continuous tradition when we talk about the imperial power. And it's interesting to see in Hittites they use the same symbology for same meaning, which is really interesting.
well, for instance, I'm from Erzurum, and in Erzurum, double-headed eagle it has a statue right in the center of the city, and people who would see this will say that this is coming from Seljukids.
Yes.
And this sign was used by lots of different civilizations, even with Turks. But can we say that this is the very first sign of double-headed eagle that we see in the whole history?
It's hard to say. Iranian culture has used it before. So Persians used it before, I guess. So it comes to Anatolia, then to Anatolia, to Greece, and to Italy, even Italy. So the reason Seljuks used the double-headed symbol, because they claim to be Rome. So, and it was the symbol of Rome. So you use it to claim that we are the Rome and they are not the Rome. So Seljuks even didn't call them Seljuks, they called them Rum, which in Turkish basically Rome.
Okay, so finally we got the place, and there are two pathways that are leading us to visit the city. There is this short tour and long tour, and I know this place pretty well because I've been visiting here for years, and Mali also knows this place, and you were here 2 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Then some things must be changed, because whenever I come here I see some things changed. I see some new excavation, I see some new stuff. For instance, the first time I was here there were no glasses in the left side of the city.
Archaeologists hate that, you know, do you know that?
What?
Archaeologists hate all these graves because they're just simply wrong.
What do you mean?
So we will talk about it.
Okay, when we go there
Okay.
we will talk about it. So let's move on. Adamı drone'u da alsaydı. I don't know if you watched the Hattusha video of us, and we talked about these bricks in those videos, and here is a very good example. Mali will talk about it.
So very great example. Now we have sun-dried mud bricks. They are not fired or cooked mud bricks. Cooked mud bricks looks very decent, like a regular brick that you will find today. But these are sun-dried, which means that they get into the shape with their mixture, with the special mixture. You can look at the texture. They have little sticks in it, like they have little grass, dried grass in it. They have little stones in it to make it stand for a long time, and then they spread it over the field and dry it, basically dry it for the sun, like for few days, and they are ready to use.
Can we also say that these were done with the same techniques, same equipments, everything that Hittite used to do here?
I have no information at all for this.
Because I'm pretty sure that these
are
are
modern
new.
made. No,
These are modern made.
These are modern made.
These are modern made. They are probably some sort of applied archaeology stuff.
Yes. Yes.
So they must be used that way. They must be
Yeah.
done that way. And
Yeah.
the wall of Hattusha was made in that way too. So in the video we also talked about it. So you better watch the Hattusha video if you haven't done yet.
The one thing that you should be aware of when you're visiting the Alacahöyük, that this site has many periods in it. So when you look at the buildings, they are not from the same time. Some of them used long before the Hittites, some of them used long after the Hittites. So when we look at the side like this, we see, look at this. These are probably the storage houses. So you see, they're not house-like, and probably they store grain and wheat and etc.
So Mali, is this place for excavation? So is there an excavation or something like that?
As far as I know, excavations have stopped for Alacahöyük, but I might be wrong. And this could be a storage unit for the excavations.
So it may be storage. So in an Hittite tablet, give them bread, help the sick, give them bread and water. Give the bread to the hungry, medicine to the sick, clothes to the poor, is written. And this is one of the rare tablets that tells us about Hittite social life.
Most of the archaeology, it's really hard to know the social life because the great source is written sources, and written sources were only written by the high priests and kings and aristocracy, and they do not talk about much about the social life and the regular people. So what can we expect is that a simple villager life for a normal guy. I don't think that it's very different. For example, if you go back to 20th century and go back to Anatolia, and if you ask a villager how they live, probably Hattis live that way. Because indeed very little things are changed for the common people.
The people I see in Çorum, in Boğazkale, makes me feel like they are from Hattusha, they are from Hittite country. They just make me feel that way. I really wanna hear Hittite music from early ages. Do we have any example of it? Because those people were very into those festivals. They really like to have fun, and they have different instruments.
Yeah.
They must have some decent music. I guess.
Of course they had. But the problem is the writing for music is a very late technology in ancient world. So we have some musical writing from Hurrians, and also of course from ancient Greek. But as far as I know, we don't have any for Hittites.
So that is a loss for humanity that can never be repaired. How many people were living in Alaca?
It's really hard to guess for me because I don't have any evidence. But my guess will be a few thousand.
We are going to the tunnel, I guess. Oh, there is this tunnel which is so dope, which is amazing. You must see it. That tunnel is nothing like the one in Hattusha, I guess, because this tunnel must be functional.
Yeah.
The tunnel in Hattusha is symbolic, but
Yes.
this one must be functional. This one
Functional.
must be for some escape or stuff like that. So, here we go.
If you have claustrophobia, just skip that part.
So, before I go to this tunnel, you cannot make it till the end, so better get subscribed right now and give a thumbs up. And should I also come there?
Why not?
Okay, I'm going.
So, at least when we can have a little bit light, maybe we can talk about it.
There is no light problem because right
Okay.
there is this, top roof. This is so narrow, by the way.
This and the
So narrow.
seal is very low. And
So-
the reason for this.
Just like this.
Okay. Do you want to know why this is so low?
Why?
Because people were short back in days.
Are we sure about that?
Yeah, I'm sure about that. Yeah, there were no people in 170.
Go on. There is a light. Okay. Here I am. This light is looking gorgeous. So I cannot stand without taking any photo of me and you right here because this light is having some unique look. on the photos, so we better stop the recording and take some photos. How about that? So, Malik, can we just talk about the function of this place? Because I really want to hear that you say this has some function.
Yeah, this has some function. This
What kind of a function?
This is an escape tunnel.
Escape tunnel from
When
what?
you see an army coming towards you, and you are sure that you're going to lose, okay? You come here, you wait here. So people come towards you and enter the settlement, right? Then this is your chance. You can move back their armies with a flashback attack, when they do not expect.
But this place is so small. So how many people can this place have at once?
I have no idea.
I'm sure it is not more than 100 people, I guess.
Sometimes
it
it's
cannot
enough.
be.
Sometimes it's enough.
Maybe there is only 100 people living in Alacahöyük in those times.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't really think so either. So this tunnel is coming from there and going there. Let's move on. Well, this end of the tunnel is shorter, and I don't know what is the length of this tunnel in total, because it is not more than 100 meters. As you can see, this ceiling is so low, and I hurt my back while trying to get out of here. So if you were someone to attack Alacahöyük those times, you must be aware of this fact. This hurts. These are houses, right?
Yeah, settlemental units.
Settlemental units, you mean like dormitory for students or something like that?
The thing with the archaeologists is that they don't like the words like houses, they don't like the words like that, because you can't really know. So we see that, first of all, if you think that this is a settlement and this is a residence unit, we should expect to find some daily life tools. So maybe pottery, maybe spoons, and stuff like that, so that we can be sure about that this place hosted some people in some period.
You know, my building avocado garden series in my YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, in the videos, one of them's name was Thorn. It's something like Thorn, something about Thorn. And you know, while building the avocado garden, I struggle with the thorn a lot, because thorn is very nasty business. But since that time, I never seen that much thorn together. Alacahöyük has everything here. Everything you see is thorn. Like no ordinary herb, nothing like that. Everything is thorn. So do not touch it. Whenever you touch it, it gets you itchy.
Yeah, I got some itchy.
Yeah, in the avocado garden stuff, the thorn part was the hardest part, so you better watch that too. Yeah, in the cards. So we are in the parts that you mentioned in the beginning of the video. You have something to tell me about these. I really wonder what it is.
Okay, so if you heard about Alacahöyük, probably you heard the royal burials, and that's not true. These are not royal burials.
Royal burials are not true?
Yeah, the royal burials.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah, royal burials are not true. Simply, when they first excavated, the Turkish government wanted to make a famous place, and they called it royal burials. But these are from early Bronze Age. And in early Bronze Age, we don't have any kings even in Anatolia. So perhaps some chieftains and their leaders, but they're not that wealthy. There are many debates. So we know that this is not royal burials, but actually archaeologists have very little clue about what actually they are. Because there are, how many of them? I guess 7 of them. And all of them has included one body and many gifts, like
one body, heads of horses, and their accessories, like even a gold necklace.
Yeah, and yes, gold and copper, and also pottery. If nice.
I want to ask you something. There is this thing over there. What is that? Tell me what that is.
I know what you think of it. It's not what you think.
Look at it. This looks like a dildo, bro. Doesn't it? It looks like it.
Perhaps it looks like it. Actually, there are real dildos in Bronze Age. So
Bronze Age dildos, a new video topic.
No.
How about that?
Now, if you think that they're dildos, we could say that. Archaeology has no moral things like this. Okay, so they do not hide
But
things.
Turkey has it. So in Turkish archaeology, you must censor some stuff, aren't you? I mean,
No,
we're
I
talking
don't think
about people who lied about archaeology, about history, just to get some attention to Alacahöyük, because there were no royal burials here, as you said, but they lied about it. So this lie shows that there is no ethic right there.
Yeah, but dildos will take more attention.
Tamam. Okay. Forget about dildos.
Okay.
I'm talking about the
Yeah,
liars.
the early
Who
archaeology.
lied about it? And in what year? Well, that is disgusting.
You'll surprise, but it's from the period of Atatürk.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So
No,
take back.
I won't get surprised because
so take back what you're saying, but
it is still disgusting. I don't care if it's the Atatürk's period or not.
so there are bigger lies in
Yeah.
those times. For example, like Hittites were Turks and they speak Turkish, and so the Sumerians actually are the Turks and stuff that Atatürk made up because they need a myth that proves that the Turks are belong here in Anatolia.
So because there were fascism and racism rising in Europe with Mussolini and Hitler, Atatürk also kept up with them, I guess, and there is this new thing called Hittite, Eti, in those eras, and they thought the civilization was called Eti, but it was not. It is Hittite. They found out something, and it was something new, and it was something for Turks to get an identity for themselves in Anatolia, probably.
Let me tell you an interesting story. When Germans understand that Hittites were Indo-European because their language is Indo-European, and they first decoded, they didn't tell about it to Turkish government because they're afraid that if they say it, that these Hittites are not Turks, and Indo-Europeans, the Turkish government could eliminate them from the excavations. So they didn't tell them. They didn't tell them that those are Indo-Europeans. One of the arguments about these burials is that those guys are sacrificed.
What kind of a religious ritual is that?
So we don't know, but there's a lot of wealthy things, a lot of wealthy, expensive artifacts, let's say, in the burials, and people suggest that this could be some kind of ritual so that they also sacrifice a man.
By the way, in Hittites, as far as I know, important people, when they die, they are not buried. They just get burned.
So this is early Bronze Age.
This is early
Way
Bronze
before,
Age, yeah.
Way before Hittites.
My point was that if they are not burned but they buried, they wouldn't be that important people. So sacrifice that makes sense in that sense too. But as you say, this is an early Bronze Age burial stuff.
There's
Sacrifice,
also
whatever
another
you say.
argument, which is also interesting, is that people were escaping from Alacahöyük, so they buried all their belongings. Another argument, and they're all very interesting.
Well, this Alacahöyük thing is getting a little scary because there are curses, sacrifices, burials, whatever, different
Welcome to
rituals.
Bronze Age.
Yeah, this early Bronze Age sucks. So better get going to the late Bronze and mid Bronze Age, which is in the videos of Hattuşa.
If you think that this is scary, check out Big European Neolithic. It's terrible.
So we are heading to the museum. There is a bad news here because we cannot film inside of the museum. So I have to stop recording right now, and this, I'm kind of popular these days. I will open it later. So we're gonna finish the video here and we'll go check what is inside of the museum. I really recommend you to come and visit Alacahöyük, and also while you're here you better go check the greatest capital city of Hittites, and that is Hattuşa. So see you in the next videos.